All right, tonight is December 8th, 2025. The Police Fire Legislative Committee. Discussion regarding the rules of council and city council agenda. Discussion regarding a proposed ordinance amending Ordinance 26674, which establishes Chapter 509, 12 curfew of Chapter 509. And let's see if this is on yet. Nope, they haven't started yet, so we'll just sit here and wait till they start. I mean, it's 5:32, and they haven't started yet. They've been having trouble with their live stream. They don't want to spend any money to let people know what's going on. They only want to spend money to cover lawsuits that people are suing them like crazy. They don't follow their own council rules. So let's see if we can get this live stream to go again. Maybe here it is now.
Okay, I'd like to call this Police Fire Legislative Committee to order.
And then right away it starts buffering. This is ridiculous.
We are here to discuss two items, and just so you know, we will be reversing them. I know on your agenda, item A is a discussion of rules and agenda, but we will first discuss the curfew ordinance that we currently have on the books that, again, needs to have a couple amendments that were omitted the first time this legislation was passed. And I think for the most part it was an oversight. So those amendments we're here to discuss. And again, of course, if there's anybody on the Police, Fire, and Legislative Committee or anybody that has some suggestions for that legislation or some ideas, certainly this is the forum to discuss those in. With all that being said, I first want to defer to Mr. Zaleski to talk about the ordinance as it exists currently and a few of the amendments that we are looking at making to this legislation. And I will say that I know Councilman Arroyo is not here, but he was pushing a few of these items because of some of the issues that we've been dealing with. But so I'll now turn it over to Mr. Zaleski.
Well, it looks right now the current ordinance and what we amended, we did exclude Fridays by mistake. Basically, the current ordinance right now calls for anybody under 17 not to be out between the hours of 11 o'clock and 6 a.m. on excluding Sunday to Thursday, and on the weekends they get 12:30 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday. We do not mention Friday in there, so we will have to add that. When I spoke to Mr. Arroyo today, he did send me an email that he would like the curfew to be 10:30 to 6 o'clock every day of the week, unless with a parent or guardian. And he also wanted an exception in there unless they're working or at school events up to 11 o'clock. But I think the state just passed a law where the children can't work past 11 o'clock anyway, so I don't know if that's going to... And I think our governor, didn't he veto that? I can't remember what happened on it, but I think he vetoed that. But...
Mayor.
Yeah, my understanding is the mayor vetoed allowing children to work on school nights.
Okay.
So that's what he vetoed because they wanted the kids to be out. The governor thought it was better that they be home doing homework and not being working.
But from this body, I need guidance. What do you want your ordinance to read? You heard Angel wants 10:30 to 6 o'clock every day, unless it's a parent or guardian. Is that good with Kyle? I mean, I'll write it up however you want. Now, I passed out a copy of the City of Avon's curfew, and you all should all have that in front of you there. And they go into a lot of detail. I could copy it off of that. You could change the numbers on it. It looks like Avon has the hours of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And then on the weekends, it's midnight to 5 a.m., I guess. I mean, you tell me what you want in the ordinance, and we'll put it in there, and we'll have it for you for next Monday.
There was also some language in there that just needed to be changed because it was just so vague and generalized.
We forgot Friday, and the old order didn't have Friday referenced in there.
Yep.
And we'll put that in there.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Zaleski. With that being said, I will now go to City Council. Mr. Nutt.
Thank you, through the chair. I do appreciate that. Is this, you said this is Avon's current ordinance, is that correct? Avon? Yeah.
Correct.
I'm a little more in line with Avon's. I think that I like the 5 a.m. I think any kid that age up at 5 a.m. is probably a fantastic, diligent student doing something they're supposed to be doing. So, and just in case, I would go with the 5 a.m. I don't know if there's a big difference in, I don't know, crimes or issues between 10:30 and or 11, but I would just be more in line with 11 and 5 a.m. across the board. But, it's not a huge difference, 10:30 to 11, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Miyazaki.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also like where they define who the minor can be accompanied by, because if we're just saying an adult, you could get a 16, 17-year-old kid running around with somebody who's 18 or 19 and doing God knows what, and they're technically considered an adult. But I do like this where the minor is accompanied by natural or adoptive parent, legal guardian, or other responsible person, and duly authorized to have custody of the minor by the minor's parent or legal guardian. So it just gives more responsibility to knowing where these kids are at.
Well, drive around and find them.
Thank you. Mr. Ball.
Yes, I'm looking at the introductory paragraph A, and it specifies Sunday through Thursday inclusive at times when Avon local schools are in session. Would that eliminate the curfew for the summer since the schools are not in session?
Yep.
If we were to, in fact, if that's the wish of this body to adopt that language, remember that language is Avon's. We already have a piece of legislation on the books that governs the city of Lorain and identifies what that curfew legislation looks like. That's just an example that you could pull and say, hey, that's a good idea, right? So that does not exist currently in our legislation.
So we don't have that issue with summer being a free-for-all?
No.
Okay.
You should have a copy of our ordinance. Okay.
Your current ordinance is 11 to 6, 11 at night to 6 in the morning. And Mary, our ordinance does say, unless accompanied by a person of mature years, and said person must be the parent, guardian, or person having legal custody and control of said child. That's in our ordinance now also.
And I personally take issue with the language of a person of mature age. I mean, what does that mean? That just leaves way too much to try to determine the definition of what a mature person of age would be. So that's one of the issues I have with the piece of legislation.
So we have a lot of children who are under the auspices of their grandparents. So if the grandparent had another son or daughter, like the aunt or uncle of that child, if the grandparent gave them permission or had asked them to do this, that would be considered
the legal guardian.
Permission of the legal guardian to have this child. Okay.
You good, Mr. Wall?
I'm always good.
All right. All right. Ms. Carter.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for being late, you guys. I think we should be in line with the other cities, our neighboring cities, the 11 p.m. to the 5 p.m. My question
5
is, do
a.m.
we know why Angel was asking for a 10:30 to 6 o'clock? Was there any reasoning behind it?
You'd have to ask Angel. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would prefer us be aligned with the other neighboring cities, because coming from one city to the next city, you can kind of get confused. I also have an issue with the summer hours, like, because that's when a lot of drama is happening in the summer. I think we need to probably put something in there for the summer.
Well,
Would you want to extend the hours in the summer or keep them the same, 11 to 5?
I think I keep it the same.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Ms. Henley.
Thank you, Mr. Demakia. I like the 11 p.m., but I think 6 a.m. is better, and I'll tell you why. For any of us that have insomnia or have been a part of Block Watch, you will see, especially in the summertime, these kids roaming the streets generally between the hours of 3 to 6 a.m., and I don't know if we can get some information maybe from LPD, but that's when I see these kids roaming, and what they're doing is the parents are asleep or whatever, and then they are out of the house up to no good. And that's not all kids. I understand some kids are going to work or whatever, but I'd like to see some information on that. And I think 6 a.m., I don't know. I raised 3 kids, and there was none of them getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go anywhere. So whether it was sports or, work or anything. So I'm just saying, if they did, the time he was up at 5 a.m., he got in trouble. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spellacy.
Wow. I would agree with Mrs. Carter. I think 11 to 5 all year, not like we'll do 11 o'clock in the summer and 10:30 in the winter. It should just be a standard 11 to 5. Everybody knows what it is. And that's what I would suggest, instead of this 10:30 to 6 to 8 to 2 to whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Compton.
Yeah, I would agree with Ms. Spellacy. I think 11 to 5 across the board, winter, summer, everybody knows what it is. I mean, it becomes the standard. We're not making the police look at the watch or something like that. And I do have a question. If a child were to be with an 18-year-old sibling, would that change this?
Yep.
It depends on the circumstances. Is the sibling could be considered the legal guardian, but based the way the Avon ordinances, if you copy that, no, that would not be a legal guardian. A sibling would not be a legal guardian.
Okay. Yeah, I think brothers and sisters get in trouble a lot together. I know I did. So, yeah, I think that's probably best. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say to that point that Mr. Arroyo did say that he would like to have the age of an adult in that language to identify the age of at least 21 years or older, as opposed to 18, which I understand his point, and I don't disagree. So just keep that in mind as well.
And look at the Avons. Look at C1. That I suppose C1 could fit an 18-year-old brother or sister. Would have control of the child and would be okay to be out with them if you look at C1 in the Avon ordinance. We don't have to copy that. You could define it how you want.
Thank you. Ms. Brigowski.
Yeah, with the further discussion, I do agree with the age of the adult being at least over 21. We're not trying to be punitive, but we are trying to get what is a serious issue under control. And we all recognize that we've got a problem. When we look at what happened over on Amherst Avenue in the shootout, those were young teenagers. And the youngest person that was in that house was 9 years old. So, I mean, you had a wide range of kids there and everything, that there were no adults that were supervising this. And we're just trying to make parents more responsible for their kids during hours that they don't need to be out and about. And that's all we're doing. I do like having the consistency of these are the hours, and it's set year round. So nobody can say, well, my school got out at this time. I'm not in school at, during this time, and that, so I should get different hours. No, these are the hours, and it doesn't vary. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duvall.
Yeah, what about prom night?
It's been a while since I've been a teenager, so I haven't kept up with what the state is saying about teenagers driving at night. I'm looking at number 5. For some reason, I had thought the state said that kids couldn't drive after a certain time, and I don't know. I'm asking, is this going to be okay with what the state already has on its books?
Again, you're referencing, just for clarity, you're referencing the Avon, City of Avon curfew ordinance, which is not ours.
I understand that.
We don't have that language in our ordinance currently.
Okay, and so you're probably saying we're not going to put that section in?
Not unless somebody suggests it and recommends it and legal thinks it's okay and doesn't create a bigger liability for the city. Not to speak for legal, but again, that's just a template of a neighboring city that, maybe there's some good ideas in that legislation, maybe there's not. Maybe there's something that somebody wants to adopt. The whole idea behind this discussion is to make sure that what changes we make to the existing legislation is what we all think is in the best interest of the city and keeping our kids safe. So
I'm asking, excuse me, I'm sorry. For D and E, define whoever. Is that the youth that was caught, or is that the adult that was in violation of this?
Oh, that's for the juvenile.
And what about E?
Well, unfortunately, that would be the adult.
Okay.
You good, Mr. Vault? I know you're always good, but you good in this topic?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I appreciate you taking my questions because I know sometimes it's hard.
No, that's why we're here. Thank
Are
you.
you playing something?
Ms. Moon.
Picking up on mine.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco. Sorry for my tardiness. What about homeless? We had a young man that was homeless, and he was living behind a building. And he had nowhere to go because his parents had put him out. So he would be over a curfew. So how would that be handled? Besides, I know they pick him up and maybe take him somewhere. But what if he kind of like jumps around this person? Thank you.
It's a really good question. I don't know how it's been handled in the past. What I will say is that, our police department is heavily trained and prepared for situations like that. And I would hope that they would err on the side of discretion and how to handle a situation like that. I mean, the whole idea here is not just to penalize folks,
handle their
or
own
put people
cop
in
wrecking
jail or
cars.
cite them, but again, if they're out doing bad things in our cities and they're putting other residents at risk, then that's why we have these ordinances in place. But that's a really good question. I don't have an answer for, but that's certainly something that we can ask police department and how they would handle a situation like that, unless Mr. Zaleski has an idea.
Well, they'd have to take that juvenile to juvenile court, and juvenile court would handle the situation. We don't have jurisdiction in muni court here over juveniles. That would go to juvenile court, and they would have to handle it there. And what they would do, I do not practice juvenile law, so I don't know what they do.
Thank you, Attorney Zaleski.
What about cops wrecking cars after 10:30?
Ms. Carter.
Yeah, I think we also need to look at exemptions for kids that are working. And this, you guys may have said this, I don't know, but I can't. Exemptions for kids that are working, because I think they can work till like 10:45. And then also the school events. Some of our school events go past 10:30, don't they? Some of the basketball games and things like that.
Oh, no, I hope not.
Or travel. I mean, they're traveling.
I mean, yeah, if they travel, those kids are coming back. But I think the real issue there is once they get back and they get off that bus, where are they going then? I don't think police are going to be snatching up kids and giving citations when they're on school property, getting off a bus. But your point is well taken. Yes, sometimes, not if they're in that new conference, there's an hour or more trip back from a 7 o'clock game that they could potentially come back at 11:30 at night. But again, hopefully discretion would prevail.
You got to make the law the way it is.
With some of those kids that are coming from a basketball game or an event like that. I will say this, that again, just thinking out loud, that I think that is the premise behind Mr. Arroyo's changing the time to 11 o'clock for the simple fact that, you talked about kids working. What is that legal time that they're allowed to work till?
I think was it 10:45 or something like that?
How hard is
so then
just making 11 o'clock?
If you look at C4 from Avon, that might be something that we would think about adopting a portion of that language or that language, because that covers exactly what you are referencing.
Okay, all right. And then
now they're buffering. Even the camera says enough of this shit's enough. Just make it 11 to 5 or 11 to 6. How hard is it? And if there's a school night with a game, you're okay. If it's prom night, you're okay. Tell the cops to leave them alone. How hard is that? This city makes everything hard. Makes everything hard. Let's see. Yep, they're not on there again. Fix the meeting live stream. This is a bunch of crap, this town.
Kids younger than 16 cannot work after 7 p.m.
Where's that at?
That's a state law.
Kids under 16 can't work past 7 p.m. All right. Does Lorain know that, or are they making up their own shit?
They said something about it. I heard them.
All right, this is buffering. The city can't even get this live stream. Little old Shipyo Lake with 10,000 people can get the live stream going and stuff. And this city of Lorain can't do shit. Too busy giving cops and everybody else raises to wreck cars. This is really sick. And when I prom to dawn, they're out all night and they're going to get arrested after 11, right? Prom to dawn. Jeez, this is sickening. Come on, Lorain, get something right.
Otherwise, you'll go back out and do it a second time and keep on doing what they're doing.
Thank you.
Come on.
Any other public comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, I will go back to City Council. And again, as we work through this discussion, if you do have recommendations or suggestions, this is the time to voice those so that we can make sure we make whatever amendments we need to make. The idea is to bring this back to council as amended, with any changes that we feel are necessary. So, with that being said, Ms. Moon.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarchio. Okay, I have a child, and this child's acting up, and I keep getting tickets. So how many tickets am I allowed? Because being out there, like the gentleman said, it's pretty rough out there with kids not listening anymore. And when you have, the drug problems within the community with parents and kids are out at night going to the store. I have a neighbor who walked from Walmart to his house on Toledo Avenue because he didn't have a ride. So that means he was out and about. So how many tickets would I get if my child act up and I'm constantly punishing them, disciplining them, telling them right from wrong? But a hard head makes a you-know-what. So what do we do when it comes to that? Because a lot of people are asking me that, how many tickets? Will I go to jail for 5, 6? So, maybe we can answer that for me if you can. If not, I thank you.
I mean, that's a question for the courts and judges, to be honest with you. And yeah, I don't know. Mayor Bradley?
So right now, the ordinance makes it a minor misdemeanor, and the new ordinance makes it a minor misdemeanor. So the most you can get is a $150 fine. And right now, if you get cited 1,000,000 times, the most you can get is a $150 fine. So if I think council might want to look at it and say, hey, how many times do we want to allow a parent to get cited for curfew violation before we have some kind of meat on the bone, so to speak? In other words, do we say a third time results in it being elevated to a 4th degree misdemeanor? And maybe then it can carry up to 30 days in jail and a $250 fine. And the person, of course, gets to go to court and explain why their child has violated curfew, I'd say within a year. In other words, we're doing these ordinances, and the law department is proposing these ordinances because we're trying to address young people committing crimes of violence, gun crimes in our community. This is the purpose. We're not trying to punish young people who are out on a date. We're not trying to punish young people that are out there going to a basketball game and coming home. What we're trying to do is put the light on. Your child is out there for no good reason, possibly carrying a firearm or a weapon, or out there looking for trouble, and the parents are just saying, I can't control my kid. Well, I mean, in the schools, if you can't control your child, the schools kind of have to assume that responsibility. Well, I think we as a city, if parents can't control their children, we have to do something to make sure that there's some control. So I'm asking council to look at possibly making it, a 3rd offense or a 5th offense, whatever it is. If you've been cited for having your child violating curfew 3 times in the same year, maybe you need to have a little extra hanging over your head. I'm not saying that the judge has to put you in jail, but maybe the judge will say, hey, this is your 3rd time. You've been in court this year for violation of curfew. We're going to suspend 10 days in jail. Now, if you come back the next time, well, then the judge can impose that jail and also impose jail on the 4th offense. But, this is all to try to do what our citizens have been complaining about, and that is crime within our community, many young people committing crime. The other thing I wanted to bring up, since I'm standing here with the microphone, is if you're going to give somebody permission to be in charge of your child after curfew, I think the parent should have to put it in writing. So I think it should read, and or some adult duly authorized, I think it should say duly authorized in writing by said parent, by said guardian to have control of said child. So, because I know what happens. The child gets cited for curfew. Then the person who's with the whoever is with the child say, well, the parent gave me permission, and the parent goes, well, yeah, I gave him permission. Have it in writing That way it's in writing that I've got permission, I got it in my pocket here, the parents gave me permission to have control of this child. I'm 21, they're 17, I got permission, have it in writing. That way the police aren't harassing anyone. It's all, parents gave it. So think about those two things. That's my suggestions. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to get the wrath of God to come down on me because I've made a suggestion. We're just talking. We haven't passed anything. We're just trying to talk. I think that debate, as we said, debate is good. Hate is not good. And I don't want any council members to ever feel intimidated because somebody writes them a nasty email or letter about something that they're considering for the good of this community. You were duly elected by the citizens of Lorain to do the things that you're doing. And it's not an easy job. But you shouldn't have to feel fear or intimidation from somebody who is supposedly exercising their First Amendment rights. Yeah, you have a right to give your ideas and your thoughts, but I don't want anybody to ever think that they have the right to make you fear or be intimidated, because that's where your freedom of speech ends. So we're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be put in fear. We're going to do what we do in this chamber, which is to speak our minds and have a good conversation, which I think we've had, thoughtful conversation, but we're not going to be intimidated and we're not going to be placed in fear because we're trying to do the right thing for our community.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley.
Council rules is in writing, but you don't follow them.
Based on those comments, I know I got a couple more lights on. I would hope that the accountability legislation that we put in place would eventually assume the role of those multiple issues that you have with curfew with parents, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why we drafted that and pushed that legislation that, hopefully, if it is repeat offenders and they become a nuisance to our community, that then that keep in mind that parent accountability legislation should be in play at that point in time. Just saying. But I don't know legally how we can take this up to be a fourth degree misdemeanor. I don't know. That's something that.
Well, as the mayor said, if it's a third offense in a year, you could maybe bump it up to an M4. But I'm going to put my 2 cents in. I mean, we could legislate all we want. This is a problem of society. We have laws on the book now that says you shall not drive drunk. People still drive drunk. We have laws that say you shall not steal. People still steal. We could put this in the law, but I mean, it's a society problem. I'm not going to say this is going to cure it. It's something you can try, but it's not going to cure it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wall.
I just want to remind, thank you, Mr. Damaki, remind people about the conversation of the 18-year-old versus the 21-year-old. Someone had suggested putting 21 years in. Then if you have a older sibling, as someone mentioned, that's 18, that would change what they're able to do. Just wanted to remind you of that.
Yep, thank you. Ms. Mangowski.
Yes, I've received a text message from Mr. Arroyo. I have screenshotted. I have sent it to the clerk to be entered into the record so that we're all above board and we have the sunshine laws in place. And what it says is, I'm watching online, I'm still at the airport. I'd also like to have an adult not just be 18, but age of 21 and older. I support 21 and over, no siblings 21 and over unless they are the legal guardians at the age of 18 or 19 or 20. And I'm fine with 11 p.m. as well. To be honest, that was a normal time, but I went with 10:30 so that we could get the discussion going. That was coming from Mr. Arroyo. He does regret not being able to make the meeting, but his flight was delayed. So, and things like this happen. And I also wanted to thank the mayor for what he just said, because, you know, he's absolutely right. And I know from my perspective, with what I've gone through here on my tenure on council, I appreciate the support more than you can know. So, sir, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
What have you gone through? All you do is lie. You make up shit as you go. You don't follow your own rules.
Yep.
Where's your sunshine law certificate?
Ms. Carter.
Yeah, through the chair, I also want to thank the mayor for his comments regarding, you know, this is a conversation and that we should not be intimidated and that we have the right to speak and share our ideas. That is appreciated, especially with what has been happening within the last few years with some of my colleagues. And when you read things, it does kind of keeps you from speaking and sharing your thoughts. So I appreciate that. The next thing is I want to say we talk about the consequences. Well, in school, truancy, there's consequences for being truant. I think that maybe we could look at some of the truancy consequences because I think they only have up to 30 or more consecutive hours of truancy before intervention steps in. And really, that's what I think these parents need out here, is I think they need intervention. And that's probably something that would happen on the court side of things. But we're dealing with young parents who are not parenting. And so I think consequences, the first one, like you said, is a minor misdemeanor. But as they continue on, I think that some kind of intervention would be helpful to the parents and for those parents who are having some difficulties with their children. So I'm not exactly sure how we could set this up. Maybe we can look at the truancy laws and then kind of come up with our own kind of, late curfew. Because I think when they're out, they call the parents anyway. So, but we are dealing with a huge drug problem out here, and there's many parents on drugs,
a huge drug
and they don't even know where their kids are at. So,
what about the adult?
I don't want to penalize a child, and he carries that, on his record till he's 21. I like to see that we try to do some kind of interventions for them and for the families first. Just my thoughts.
Thank you.
They don't make sense.
And I don't want to speak out of turn, but to your point, I do know that there have been discussions with the administration, Lorain Police Department and Lorain City Schools to discuss truancy laws in an effort to try to get control of it at a local level. I will say this, that the school district does a great job with interventions, programs, working with parents, trying to get them the supports and help and resources they need. But truancy is an issue. The bigger issue is we have no control over what happens when it becomes an issue, because we are dependent upon the county to handle that situation. So the discussions, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but the discussions are around how do we localize it and how do we put it in our local municipal court to handle our truancy issues here in collaboration with the school district and the police department. So to be determined later, and it's pretty sure it's coming. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Wall.
Yes, I'm wondering, with the grass issue, there was a concern between civil or criminal citations or tickets or whatever. Is this a criminal act?
Yes.
So people would, if they're found guilty of the misdemeanor, there is an actual record. They go to court and do the whole thing?
Yes, but if it's a minor misdemeanors are not criminal per se. If it's a third offense within a year and you make it an M4, that would become a crime on the record, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moon.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco. I think this is all wonderful, but sometimes we forget about the students. I think we should get together with the students and listen to them to see what's really going on, because being in the school system, I hear so much, I hear a lot of Miss Moon, social media. There was someone on the phone last night. They're going to fight today. So sometimes maybe we should get the students together and say, this is a law that's going to be coming out. You need to get ready to get yourself together and respect whoever's taking care of you. So this parent or whoever is won't be going fine and all that. Sometimes they need to hear what's going on. So it'd be nice if we can get a group, and say, hey, these are the new laws that's coming up for parents. You need to get it together. If you got some issues, this is where you need to go, but we need to listen to them. We as adults know what's going on. We know about the shooting, but being in that school, listen to children. It's really something that goes on. If you can only spend a day at Lorain High School where they're in the office crying or a problem or somebody didn't show up or the child is getting the sister and brothers ready that 5 and 6 years old for school. So let's try to get the kids together to see what's really going on out here as far as the guns, the drugs, the why you late coming to school, So just my suggestion.
Thank you. Mr. Duval, you like to talk? Okay. I think that we have a pretty good foundation for some of the changes that have been suggested here. The plan is for Mr. Zaleski and our law department to draft those amended changes to the current existing legislation. I would say, though, from my part, I would like to see some kind of language from C4 from the Avon ordinance. I'm not sure I like the back half of that. Article 4, because I don't know how you're going to govern that or police it, but I do like the beginning language in C4.
And let me sum this up and correct me if I'm wrong, if what I'm getting from council. Our time is going to be 11 o'clock to 5 a.m. You want a responsible person to be 21 or older unless they're a sibling who has legal custody. You want duly authorized in writing with this person, as the mayor had said. Do we want to enhance it for the adults if there's a third offense for their child within a year to make it an M4?
Yes.
Okay, and then Tony said here the C4 language I'll look at and figure that out. I will have something in writing, have it down to you by Thursday, and then you'll be on the agenda for Monday.
Thank you all. That was item B of our agenda. Actually, they're both looking at your agenda. They're both A. I guess I'm not wrong. Yeah, we can. I mean, it's hard because we don't have the drafted legislation in front of us. But if all of you are comfortable enough with our law department to draft up the changes, we would have to send it to council.
For the curfew one?
For the curfew one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would need a motion to send the drafted revised version back to council for consideration. Ms. Henley.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second from Victoria?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. There we go. Correct. Well, that's okay. You could have raised your hand. All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda, discussion regarding the proposed ordinance, discussion regarding rules council and our council agenda. There have been some discussions amongst council folks about our council rules. And I will reference a few of them because some of them have come through here. Part of the discussion is identifying media credentials within our chamber, just like the state of Ohio does, in adopting what the state does for credentialed media folks. Another part of the discussion, and I guess it might be even easier to go through the rules individually. We could rapid fire this. Rule 1, I have not received any recommendations, and if you have anything that you would like to see changed, Rule 2, nothing. Rule 3, nothing. 4, 5, and 6, nothing. No amended changes on any of those. The section were officers and employees of council. There's a question of, do we need a sergeant at arms in this chamber? And comments on that. Ms. Rogowski.
Yes, I would say that we need a sergeant at arms as much as we need somebody designated as a parliamentarian, which they would be the ones that would advise as to the correct procedures under Robert's Rules of Order. And they can be utilized somewhat in a de facto sergeant at arms in keeping order. I mean, you would hope that the council president would be maintaining that order under Robert's Rules of Order. But I don't know that we need the sergeant at arms as much because, I mean, what powers would they have? We already have the police in attendance, and we have the Ohio Revised Code. So, like I said, parliamentarian versus sergeant at arms. Thank you.
And this might be a stupid question, but I was going to say the same thing. Don't we already have that with our council president? And then if there's a legal issue, we certainly have our law here every meeting to advise. But I hear what you're saying, but playing devil's advocate, don't we already have
I understand that. I think that people are not as familiar with Robert's Rules as I would hope that they would be, in that what is the purpose of the council president in this? And it isn't to give an opinion or it's to cast a tie vote, but it isn't to have commentary. It is to facilitate the meeting. And when you facilitate a meeting, you're not actively a participant in it. You are guiding it. And I think that we often lose sight of what that is in this case. Under Robert's Rules of Order and Parliamentary Procedure.
Yep, I understand. I get it. So you would like to see a broader definition of the presiding officer, i.e. council president, and what their specific role actually is, and define it a little clearer than what we currently have in our rules.
I think it would alleviate any confusion, and it would facilitate the process going forward and keeping us purely within the guidelines of Robert's Rules of Order and proper parliamentary procedure. That's just my suggestion on this.
Fair enough. And I will, as far as the legality of defining what that role is of an elected official, I would defer to legal on that. But Mayor Bradley, comment?
Yeah, a lot of times people don't understand this, but actually the president of council is an administrative officer. He is not, or she is not, a member of city council. And so that's a statutory position. It's defined as part of the administration. Now, he's an elected official, so I don't have any control over him, but he's not a member of city council. The other thing, and I wanted to point out in Rule 6, it says, he shall preserve the order and decorum at all times. Now, to me, once I walk into this chamber, all times means once I walk into this chamber, if the council president tells me to sit down, I sit down. If the council president tells me, be quiet, I'm going to be quiet. He's like the judge in a courtroom as far as I'm concerned. So I say this, once you walk into that door and the council president is sitting as his seat, whether you're in session or not in session, or you're in recess or you're not in recess, I think your rule is very clear. At all times does not say just when the meeting is in order. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll be corrected by the law department, but it seems that we have people giving opinions as to what at all times means. But to me, I think we just take a common sense approach and say at all times means at all times. And so if he tells me something, even though I'm an elected official, even though you're elected officials, if the person who's in your rules is running this meeting at all times, I'm going to listen to him. And I hope that you would listen to him. And I would hope that the people that come to our meetings would listen to him. Because that's what makes a meeting a good meeting. And that's what we have in a democracy, right? We listen to rules. We like rules. We like decorum. That's why this council has been so effective. Because you listen to the rules. You've passed some good ordinances. You've debated these ordinances. You've been thoughtful about these ordinances. And I think that is what makes a democracy so strong and vibrant, is that, you invite people to come up there and give their opinion, whether it's at a council meeting or at a committee meeting. You don't cut them off unless they get off the topic or they're doing something that is impugning somebody else's integrity. Your rule says that you're not supposed to do that. But I like this rule that the council president at all times makes sure that decorum is followed in this chamber. As far as I'm concerned, I consider this chamber to be as sacred as a courtroom.
Oh, get out of here, Jack.
I spent 43 years of my life in a courtroom. And believe me, if I didn't respect the judge who was elected, even if I didn't think the judge was right or she was right, I had to respect it. Councilwoman Spellacy, she worked in the court system as a bailiff. Believe me, she knows that if the judge tells you something, you're going to listen. You're not going to get into a debate. You're not going to say, you work for me. You're going to just say, yes, Your Honor. Well, I think it should be the same way in this chamber. This is a sacred place. You guys are making the laws that control the citizens of our city, but you're also protecting the citizens of our community. And we need to emphasize these things. We need to be proud of what we are attempting to do. And we do our best every single day.
No, you don't.
So I'm proud of all of you. I'm proud of all those elected officials in this city that are trying to do their best. And we can take the criticism, believe me, because under our Constitution in Ohio and in the United States, we're subject to criticism, and we certainly take it in.
No, you don't.
But again, there's limits, and I just want you to know that I do appreciate what you do for the citizens of the city of Lorain every day. Thank you. Mr. Ball?
Yes, I almost got lost. On Rule 9.
No, we're still on Rule 7.
Someone mentioned a sergeant at arms. So we're on 7?
We're on 7.
Oh, okay.
Presiding officer.
Yeah. Thank you. I will wait.
Ms. Carter.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I agree with the mayor that I don't see anything wrong with Rule 7. the seat. We respect the seat. As a council president, I was always taught that, that is the judge. When, you listen to what he has to say. It's a seat, and you respect the seat, and that's what we will continue to do, is respect the seat. I do have a question regarding the parliamentarian and what that looks like. Is that an appointed person? Is that, what's the legal, or are our law directors, are they our parliamentarian? I know at one time our safety service director, he was acting as a parliamentarian. So what does that look like? And I guess that probably is a question to
Jeez, these people
Council
are on council 10 years. They don't know who the fuck anybody is.
Explain to me what that looks like.
It doesn't. It's a position that people know.
Ms. Brigowski?
It would just be somebody who is keeping track through Robert's Rules of Order to keep the meeting on track, which is basically a sergeant at arms in a meeting is somebody that's keeping order. And I don't know how we would, in the terms of a sergeant at arms, I don't know how we would be able to have somebody appointed as a sergeant at arms. I mean, they're certainly not going to be able, if somebody's being disorderly in the audience, they're certainly not going to be able to remove them. That's why we have the police present. But there was a question with a meeting that we took a recess. And the question came up as a recess versus an adjournment. And at that point, a parliamentarian would say, the meeting is merely in recess. It is not adjourned. So therefore, the council president is still in charge of the chamber. And just a clarification on Robert's Rules of Order, which is what governs city council meetings. So just on that, I mean, I'm not the one that brought up a sergeant at arms or that, but I don't think that we can use a sergeant at arms in this avenue here. So I suggested that if you really wanted somebody to do something, we'd be more as a parliamentarian and keeping the order in that. But it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
I'm just putting that out there right now.
I'm not sure how that would exist with the current council president.
Jack Bradley brought up sergeant at arms.
I trust in our law department and any legal opinion that I need as far as Robert rules of order or anything that we do within a meeting. That's why these guys are sitting here. Their job is to make sure that legally we aren't going out of bounds on any of the discussions that we have. So again, I just simply brought it up. It was a suggestion by somebody. I don't know how that would even make sense for us. Since again, we have a law department that is here every meeting, and we have a council president whose role is to facilitate and make sure that we are, his job is to preside over the meeting and keep us on track and keep us focused. So parliamentarian or sergeant at arms, I personally don't see how that would even exist in our current structure.
Okay. And I just want to say also that all these years up until recently, Rule 7 has worked. I don't know if the devil just dropped out of the sky or what, but it has worked all these years and up until recently. So
if we don't feel we need to change, then we don't need to change. But
I'm good with what it is right now, and I'm good with our law department as long as we have someone from the law department in their seat at our meetings.
Well, thank you. Mr. Riley, did you have a comment?
To the chair, I would just say to council that in the 15 years I've been here, there's never been a finding of any violation of your council rules. And so, I mean, the need for a sergeant at arms, I find, in my personal opinion, as a citizen here, that to be unnecessary. You have the police and you have a president of council. And as to a parliamentarian, you have rules of council. The Robert's Rules of Order only supplement your rules. They are not precedent over your council rules. It's your council rules first, Robert's Rules of Order, wherever it is that your council rules are absent. And as I said a moment ago, in the 15 years I've been here, I've never, I can at least say in my recollection, there's never been any finding by any authority, the state of Ohio, a court or otherwise, that you've ever violated your rules or not applied them properly. In this atmosphere that we live in today, where political rhetoric is escalated beyond what I think to be proper, certainly these issues become more paramount. But nonetheless, they've worked, and we have, as you know, dealt with conduct in the chamber that might otherwise not be appropriate. We have provided for you as a law department a protocol by which you are to proceed in the event you find yourself in that circumstance. And I would say to you that that protocol is one which I drafted and created based upon input I received from this law director of the city of Cleveland, so it's not something that just came out of my imagination. They faced much more difficult circumstances there involving disruptions in their council chamber, particularly at the onset of the Israeli-Gaza war, when both the Jewish community and the Palestinian community were demanding action by city council, and it essentially took over council meetings. That matter proceeded to the courtroom. Eventually the city of Cleveland was found to be vindicated, not having violated its rules in its attempt to control, but they developed a protocol. And when we began to experience here circumstances that were unfortunate as regarded political rhetoric, and heightened attitudes expressed through the mic and otherwise, I contacted the law director's office in Cleveland, asked him how they handled their situations. He provided me a roadmap, and I drafted it and tailored it to our circumstance here in the city of Lorain. All of you who are chairman of a committee and or sit in the chairman's chair here, the president's chair, I know what that protocol is. I feel comfortable that we are in the proper place. We have attempted on more than one occasion to train our committee chairs and the president on the use of that protocol if he finds it to be appropriate. Councilperson Sprandowski has properly identified the difference between a recess and an adjournment, and we recently experienced that here in our chamber, which was unfortunate, frankly. I feel comfortable with where we're at with this particular rule, and would suggest if you're inclined to change it that we have a further debate about it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nutt. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't necessarily see a need for a sergeant at arms or a parliamentarian at this point in time, as stated. But I do want to get back to the point that the mayor was making, which I do agree with, that the president or pro tem should have control of the chamber at all times. My only question with that is, what is the mechanism to then enforce the conduct, let's say, in chambers when we're not in session? Because I believe Rule 47's language only discusses when the meeting has been started. So if that is a thing that the president of council controls the chamber at all times, that may then have to be looked at for him to have or her to have the ability to have some recourse if that isn't, because you can't adjourn the meeting if it's pre-meeting and there's a disruption. Just as a informational thing, if that's a route that's taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Henley.
Thank you, Mr. Demakia. Over the years, and this may not be the appropriate time, but in referring to council president, over the years I've had people ask me, and I don't really have an answer for it, so I wonder if it should be part of the rules. On occasion, okay, if I'm understanding correctly, council president's position is to facilitate the meeting and essentially break any tie votes that come up, and maintain some decorum while in chambers. Now, on occasion, he has offered his opinion on something that's coming up to vote, and that's where the questions have come from a couple of my residents. Should he be commenting on this?
No.
Does that need to be in the rules, or is that a doesn't matter type of thing? Don't look at me like that.
No, that's a really good question. I mean, again, it's really the role of the president. Again, I'll defer to the language of what the president's job is to do in our meetings, but it's not to engage and influence in a voting process. That's the rest of our jobs out there. So if that is something that you would like to see language in that particular rule, again, I will, as I always do, defer to our law department, and if they feel that is appropriate, they'll draw some language up and place it in there. If that's
Thank you.
Moving on to Rule 9. Ms. Duval.
Okay, I'm just getting ready to comment on Rule 7. I would hate to see us redraft something that's already perfectly clear because of one person's behavior. Maybe a conversation with that person, because we're going to have to live with it with this the rest of the time for everybody else. And I got a little confused because you told me we weren't talking about sergeant at arms. Then everybody started talking about sergeants at arms, and I don't think that's necessary. I think Bree does a great job of keeping us on track with rules and regulations from Robert's Rules of Order. I was particularly impressed with her last meeting where she did advise the president that something that had been voted down could only be reconsidered by someone who voted on the opposing side. And that is a very, very, that's good. That's good. She knows her stuff. And so I think that a sergeant at arms, if you wanted somebody to do that, you'd expose them to civil and criminal charges if somebody says they did something or whatever. So I don't think that's necessary. I would like to see Lorain continue to be as folk-friendly as it is without us having, I know there are some times when you need exact rules and regulations, but I don't think it's always necessary to start listing what a person can do and what he can't do in part of your document. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Compton.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I think that Rule 7 should stand as is. I don't see that I don't think that this is as big a problem as maybe other people do. It's been working for a very long time, and I don't see any reasons to change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rule 10. I will say that the one suggestion I got from Rule 10 is standing committees. The recommendation is upon a chairperson vacancy, meaning chairperson is absent or cannot attend that meeting, the vice chair will be asked first, and then order of committee members before opening up to other council members to chair said meeting. I personally don't have a problem with that. I think that's the way it should be, and I think that's been a precedent from Bree as she navigates through this type of issue at times, but I think she's done a pretty good job of making sure that the vice chair is the first call to facilitate that particular committee meeting in the absence of the chair. So that's my 2 cents. Open it up to the floor. Ms. Springowski.
I think what she may have been referring to on that was a permanent vacancy on the committee, where like when
you're talking about appointments.
Yeah, I think that was what that was in reference to.
Yep. And again, I have no issue with going immediately to the vice chair of that committee. That's why that vice chair position is there. Any objections to that type of language? Perfect. Yes, sir. Mr. Riley.
What's the language? I'm unclear about what it is that has just been discussed. Are you talking about the absence of a chair and who might fill it in the absence of a chairperson, or how it is that these chairs get filled to begin with?
Permanent vacancy. So in the event that the standing committees have been selected, you have a chairman of that committee. That chairman is permanently vacant. It should go to the request to chair that committee moving forward should go to the vice chair. and then down to the other committee members if the vice chair is not interested in doing so before we go and reach out to other council members. Thank you, sir. Rule 11 committee meetings. I have a note here that suggests that which committee meetings are a public meeting anyway and are designed to be those meetings that public comment on, particular legislations, no different than today, right? It's a bulk of this meeting is giving the community an opportunity. The suggestion is during public comment, should we require name and address? And we already talked about the address issue, I think, in regular meetings. And then should we put a cap in committee meetings, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, just like we do in regular committee meetings? I say that we adopt what we currently have in regular committee meetings, regular council meetings. I think that has worked out fairly well. Ms. Ringowski?
I think that the length of time that people speak and how those committee meetings are governed should be up to the chairperson of that committee. I know that when I chaired Building and Lands, I didn't put a time limit on, and I didn't put a limit as to how many times people could come up and speak. The meetings didn't get out of hand. I think that they were relatively well run, and it continued to work. But I do think that it should be the option of whomever the chairperson of that committee is. That is their committee. They are the chair. They should decide the rules as to how long somebody can speak and how many times. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ball?
Yes, I agree that citizens should be allowed to come and speak. I'm a little confused about, suppose the Building and Lands Committee has 2 minutes, and then the federal programs and state programs has 4 minutes, and then I think it should be uniform. I don't think there should be a time limit put on it. I think a person should be able to speak, and unless it gets unruly or exceedingly long, and they should be allowed to speak as many times as they please. That's public hearing.
Don't disagree, but I'll just caution you that when I was on the Board of Ed, we put 2 hearings of the publics on our agenda to allow for folks to speak because we do want to hear them. But I will caution you, if you don't put limitations on it, what you'll have one individual dominating that committee meeting while others, and what happens is, and I know it, if you have a group of people here that want to speak, they get exhausted by listening to one person sit up there and talk for a half hour and dominate the room, and then they don't get their opportunity to come up and speak. And then you have people leaving before they can come up and address their concerns because we're just letting certain folks dominate that particular part of the meeting. So I would just caution you on just opening it up. We haven't had any issues to date. I don't recall having to cut anybody off. I don't, just like today, not many people get up to speak, which is great. But in the event you have a hot topic in committee, you can't allow a few folks to dominate the conversation in the room and take away from others in that space that have some legitimate concerns. So I just want to say that.
I understand that. So if there is a time limit put on it, I think it should be sufficient for a person who really has a big concern or a plan. And then it should be across the board for all the committees. I don't want to have to memorize which committee I have 2 minutes on and which committee I have 5 minutes on.
I agree with your consistency, but again, it goes back to the individual running the meeting as well. If I want to let somebody talk for 10 minutes because I have nobody else coming up, if you run the meeting and you're running it efficiently, you don't have those issues. But I do agree that consistency should be at least noted in somewhere in our rules. I am going to Ms. Carter.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair. I agree that we have had, we've done well with our committee meetings and the, having the community speak. However, I'm thinking, and this is just a thought, anything over 10 minutes should be put in writing. Because then it becomes a conversation, right? When you're it's you have a lot to say if you're up there for more than 10 minutes, and then to me it requires a meeting with the administration, something, because that's a lot of information to sit up and listen to someone for 20 minutes. And then we also have the hijacking of the meeting. So, not that has happened, but to put some parameters in there and some consistency for every meeting. I don't know. I mean, whatever our body agrees with, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But anything beyond that, I think I would say it's probably time for a sit down.
Again, my suggestion would...
That's just a suggestion.
I do agree that we need to have some uniformity.
Just make it 5 minutes. Come on, how hard is
we
it?
adopt what we do in
You
regular
people
council
can't
meetings.
figure nothing out.
Again, I think you just leave it to the discretion of the chair of that meeting to allow somebody to speak for 10 minutes, but I certainly don't want to put in writing you get 10 minutes because then,
we're violating people's rights.
Right, I think
5 minutes.
Like we do in regular council meetings. Again, just my opinion. I do have a
You
few
don't have
more
any
links
answers
that I do
anyhow.
want to get to.
So is there a disclaimer that we can put in here that if it becomes,
We're establishing our rules. So disclaimer, rule, I mean, if we want it to be a rule, let's define it as the rule.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
She don't know.
We're the body. This is
She's
our
only
meeting.
been there for 10 fucking years, and she don't even know what the fuck's going
our
on
meetings
still.
based on these rules. So if there's something we want in here, let's talk about putting it in there. But I don't think we need to put disclaimers. I don't, I mean, just my opinion. This is our meeting.
I don't want to violate anybody's right to speak. I'm just
Sure you do.
I want to know what can we do? I mean, because I want to respect the person that is up there speaking, and I want to hear what they have to say. But if it's longer than 15 minutes, there's got to be something more to it. There needs to be a conversation, and it probably doesn't need to happen here. It needs to probably go to the administration and find out what is the real problem.
Thank you. Ms. Captain.
Since our council meeting is 2 minutes to allow people to speak, my thought is if we doubled it and allowed people to speak for 4 minutes, and the chairperson would then have the ability to extend that per what was going on. If you have a room full of people where everyone wants to speak, then it's 4 minutes. If you have one person shows up to a committee and they want to speak longer, and it's not an issue with the committee or with the chairperson, and they extend it, I think that's their purview. But I think saying 4 minutes in the rules is a good sort of medium ground, so to speak. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you. And I will say as I go on to the next individual that just keep in mind that we don't need to offer a hearing of the public in our regular meeting, and that's what committee meetings have been designed for. That truly is the hearing of the public and gives them an opportunity to speak. And I'm not suggesting anything other than, but just keep in mind, we didn't need to put that on our agenda, regular agenda, but that's what committee meetings are for. Moving on to Mr. Nutt.
Thank you, sir. Certainly appreciate it. Chair. Yeah, I understand the need for possibly setting time limits on this. When I run the meetings, I have no time limits because I want people to get out the full thoughts and breadth of whatever they're trying to say. Obviously, consistency has to be key. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't set a time frame on there. I would leave it up to the chair. That way, it's if 2 people want to talk, great. 15 people want to talk. The chair is running the meeting. It's up to them. Because I think if we set that time limit in there, and if any chair deviates from that, then you have that issue of, well, this wasn't fair, and I didn't get to speak, and they got to speak more from committee to committee to committee. So I think that might create a problem. But to your point, too, that the committee meetings are essentially like the working meetings, like the general meetings where we're just supposed to do our business and pass ordinances, legislation, and whatnot. As a side note, too, to this, the Amherst Council meetings, I don't know if anybody's ever attended those. I've attended quite a few before, but just one recently as well. The way they do their meetings, I find quite unique. So they're very speedy and they just get their work done. Their meetings are about 4 to 5 minutes. Now, the reason for that, though, is because their subcommittee is when everything is introduced. So like here, everything comes on to general council for whatever item, the ordinance that needs to be passed. Well, all of theirs shuffle through the corresponding subcommittee to where then all questions, comments, concerns are all answered. And when it comes to the official work of council of passing these ordinances, it's yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and they're just moving right along. Because obviously we have an issue with the time frame on our regular committee meetings. Now that is something that's a little more, that's a full change of the structure on the back end in a way. But that's just a thought to put out there, because the point of the subcommittee meetings is the back and forth, the dialogue, the question and the answer. So that's why, to me, I think not having a time limit is best. Leave it up to the chairperson. But also the way they run their meetings allows for, when council is in session, they get the work done and then they're done. Vote, gone. So just as a point of reference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm not advocating for time limits on folks in committee meetings. Don't get me wrong. I just suggest it simply for a foundation that if somebody does go rogue and they're dominating the room, you at least have that rule in place to say, hey, listen, you've surpassed your 4 minutes. I've allowed you 15 additional minutes. I'm going to need you to wrap up so I can let other folks talk. So it just creates a foundation for you. And playing devil's advocate, I think we got a lot more work here than Amherst does. So I'd cautious us on putting everything in subcommittee as opposed to council floor. But I love your point. Ms. Duval.
Yes, there was an incident here where one of our citizens got up to speak. The 2-minute bell rang, and someone moved to allow her more time. So that's the way it was handled, So I think that's a perfectly good thing. So if you don't put a limit on it, and a committee chairperson tries to shut someone off, all hell is going to break loose. And so that chairperson should have the authority to stop someone if after 5 whatever minutes, because the committee chairperson needs to have the backing of these rules. Okay, so that's the way I feel about it. And if someone wants to move that they hear more from him, so be it.
Mr. Barton, just to let you know, professional growth on my part. I wanted so bad to cut your mic off in the middle of saying that.
With the word hell?
That ain't funny.
Yes, I do like adding in the name and the address that must be stated. Otherwise, I think that the rule should stand as it is. I'm very pleased to see that 4 of our new council members are here. I'd be interested in hearing their viewpoint on it. I agree with Mr. Nutt. We didn't ever have time limits, and we didn't have a problem in ruling somebody out of order, or saying that, when you come to a committee meeting, you're only allowed to talk about what is the topic on the agenda for that meeting. It has to be germane to the conversation. So, many of us that have sat in that chair, we don't have a problem in keeping that, and that's part of our job as chair of the committee, is keeping the order of the meeting. And it may take a little effort but we know who our bad actors are, and we can't hold the rest of the city hostage because somebody is trying to hijack a meeting. And somebody may have some very salient points that they need to get out there, and I don't like putting in, a time limit, because that these people are going to hold everybody to it. I say we let it stand as it is. Let it be at the discretion of the committee chairperson. We know that it has to be whatever is on the agenda. You can't be going off, ad hoc on this, and just stipulating that they have to have their name and their address. stated in this at the beginning for the records. I think we would be good to go there. That's just my opinion on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Anything
want to
on
know
Rule
where
12?
everybody lives, Mary.
Mayor Bradley?
I'm going to skip around a little bit, but first of all, you do have the right to control the time, place, and manner of somebody speaking to you. So that's not infringing upon anybody's First Amendment right by controlling time, place, and manner of their speech, okay? But you've put limits on your own speech. So if you look at Rule 22, speaking, when called upon by the chair, no member shall be allowed to speak for a period of longer than 3 minutes at any time unless permission is granted by the presiding officer. So if you're going to put limits on yourself, I think it's a good idea to put some limits on the public. All right? So you put a 3-minute limit on yourself, and then it says the discretion of the person running the meeting can extend that if the person is making some cogent arguments or some cogent points that you think need a little bit more time. So I agree that you put limits on yourself. Why not put a limit on the public, give the chair the right to extend that at the chair's discretion?
Thank you. Rule 13. 14. Rule 15. Quorum, not much you can do about that. Rule 16, I do have a few folks that have reached out with some recommendations, and I will say this, that based on, again, Mr. Nutt's point earlier about a neighboring city council, as well as I know Bree has done extensive work with the law department and looking at other cities surrounding us, what their agenda looks like. And I'll go off the recommendations that I currently have for our order of business. If there are any thoughts, questions, concerns, or ideas of how it should be changed or not changed, I'll go by your lights. Order of business, number 1, Pledge of Allegiance. Number 2, roll call. Number 3, minutes of previous meeting. Number 4 would be combined 5 and 6, correspondence and reports from directors, boards, and governmental agencies. 8 would then be number 5, public comment. 9, committee reports. 10, ordinances, first, second, and third readings. 11, committee calls. And then 13, adjournment. That has been the suggestion to condense our meeting down so that we can get through the business that we need to get through. Thoughts, questions, concerns? Ms. Pringowski.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with this because a lot of times it just segues from one into the other anyway. And this lets us get to the business at hand, which is running the city for the residents of Lorain. So
Stop saying you're doing it for the residents.
Thank you.
You want to cut our time. You want to throw us in jail. You're not for the residents.
Then.
Shut up. You guys are full of shit.
Not at this point in time. We'll get to you all here. On page 6 of our rules, still under Rule 16, public comment guidelines. There is item D. Speakers must provide their name, address, and topic they wish to comment on sign-in sheet. There's been a suggestion to add that on, just a sign-in sheet. We're not asking them to announce it. Their name, yes. We'll know their topic based on the sign-in sheet. Bree usually handles that fairly well. We're just asking to add on sign-in sheet to item D at the end of that sentence. Ms. Prigowski?
No, I agree with that. I think it's important. And also with the sign-in sheet, you probably haven't gotten to it yet, though. I think that people should only be able to sign up once to speak.
Name, yes, address. Computer report.
Thank you.
I agree with Councilwoman Sprzowski. One time.
Thank you. Ms. Kempton?
And I would also agree.
Perfect.
That's the law that you're providing. That's the House Bill 609.
I also have on here item F, to add in speakers will state their address at the beginning of their comments, engage in civil discussion through the chair, and refrain from personal attacks. Violations result in removal from the chamber. So the addition there after speakers will state their address at the beginning of their comments. Thoughts? Ms. Frigowski.
Yeah, I think this is important. That they need to make sure that that we know where we can come.
Yeah, they want to know everything about us, but nothing about them. You wouldn't have any troubles in these meetings if you would answer our emails, council people, mayor. When I asked for if you got any, video from the bar where the cop wrecked the car that night, why don't you go and check and see if there's video? Get it for us. You all say you work for us. You're liars. You don't work. You work for your paycheck, and that's it. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's what you guys live by. Now let's see. We got to go back here and figure this crap out now. All right, let's go see if it came back on yet. Is it going to come back on?
Everyone generally aware of that initiative in Columbus. If not, I would suggest you take a look at House Bill 609. In House Bill 609, which has not been passed but is being debated and considered, one of the provisions in House Bill 609 that is, at this point in time, in the dictate of the House bill says as follows. Every public body by rule, and this is designed to address local governments such as municipal corporations, which Lorain is, every public body by rule shall do all the following. And I'm going to segue down to item number 3, which says as follows. Allow for public commentary and testimony before taking formal action on any item that may provide reasonable restrictions on the length and nature of the public commentary and testimony. The rule shall not require an individual to register or obtain approval to comment before commencement of the public meeting. The rule may require that an individual provide the individual's name and contact information before being granted permission to speak. So here, the identification of this person so that he or she may be followed up on is phrased as contact information, not necessarily address. And there's a distinction there. So just for information purposes, the way by which a person who makes public comment now being considered under House Bill 609 is by way of his contact information, not necessarily his address.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Finally
I
got one
personally have
right.
no problem with somebody not announcing their address. I know it's been a conversation in the past. So, Mr. Wall.
Yes, it was in that. That was what I was going to bring to your attention. The way our society is now, there may be some repercussions from people and things they say, and if they have to state their address, that leaves them open to all sorts of things. Contact information, is there, I don't remember what the slip looks like. Is there a phone number on that sign-in? That should be sufficient. If they have an issue, that should be sufficient. I think putting your address out on internet could be dangerous to some women, or it could be dangerous in different ways.
Thank you. Listen up.
Thank you, sir. Through the chair. Just for clarity, so when they sign up, they're going to be required to put their name and contact information, which could be phone number, maybe email, or proper possibly address if they want to. But when they speak, it will just be their name. Is that correct? Is that what we're looking at? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
How hard is that? You guys are supposed to be legislators. You don't even know our rights. Fourth Amendment.
Moving on.
I just do that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just reading that last, but we've already addressed it once per meeting. Anything on 17? 18 absences, pay schedule. Voting by roll call, rule number 19. There is a note here that says, could we address minutes here or in rule 41, which I was trying to get ahead of it.
Where's good?
Yeah. That's, maybe we can address that in 41. Anything on 20? 21.
That's by statute.
22. 23.
Registered. I think that's roll.
24, 25, or 26? Rule 27. Attendance required.
Yes,
I believe in discussions we cannot require auditor or treasurer to attend. So that needs to be amended there because it states the mayor, safety service director, law director, auditor, and treasurer. So just so you know. Mr. Nutt.
Sorry. Thank you. Through the chair. Yeah, I had a question about this earlier, and my memory could be a little cloudy on this. I thought the law department issued an opinion on that regarding the treasurer and the auditor. Sir?
Through the chair. I'm not in a position to say what I may have issued an opinion on in the past, and so I'm going to have to go back to our legal opinions. We keep them back as far as I've been here and before I've been here. But just as an observation, I don't see how the legislative branch can command that anyone in a different branch of government do anything, frankly. So whether it just be the auditor, treasurer, or any executive officer, or someone from the court system, be mandated by the legislative branch to be present. So I'll have to re-look at this a bit. I'd ask for council to give me some time to re-examine the issue here, but it doesn't pass the smell test that one branch of government can command another branch of government, in theory, to do anything particular. Do you follow?
Yes, I do. That's what I thought.
Look at it.
Yeah, the original opinion had stated, so I didn't know if the verbiage had to change because the mayor can't then be forced as well. Yeah, so on and so forth. Thank you.
Yeah, so based on the information we get back from the law department, that Rule 27 may be removed. Looking at that now. 28. 29. Measures to be in writing. Ms. Rogowski.
Personally, I don't think it's necessary. I just think it's redundant.
Yep, agreed. Recommend removing 29 if there are no objections, just for the notes. Rule number 30. Rule 31. The only revision I have in that is middle of the paragraph where it says a charge of 5 cents per copy. I suggest we do 5 cents per page. copy could be 1,000 pages. So that would certainly help manage that, but that would be my recommendation. Any objections?
It says 5% per copy after the first 5 pages.
Moving on.
These guys stink.
Rule 32, audio, video recordings of council meetings. Ms. Springowski.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the cost associated with this, given the budget going forward, and the fact that we get so many complaints that the video isn't good, or the audio isn't good, or it's cutting out, or it's buffering, or what have you. And unless there is a legal requirement for this going forward, I don't think that we should be doing it, because we're not in a position to get new equipment at this time. And it's going to continue to be very frustrating for everybody. And it just seems to have caused a lot of problems with, they can't hear, they can't understand, and we need to focus until such time as we can get the proper equipment and the proper transcription equipment that'll allow for the ADA compliance. And that we don't need to open ourselves up to not being in compliance by offering something that we can't deal with it right now.
Well, make a motion.
That's just my thoughts.
Buy new equipment.
I don't disagree, and I have no problem.
They want to cut it off.
Supporting that. I will say this, that live streaming was never taken. That portion of what we do for our meetings was never, there was no action ever taken on that. That was just something that former clerk Nancy Greer implemented on her own. I think that was a result of COVID, to be honest with you, in trying to be accommodating through a very challenging time. So technically, that's not in our rules. It's not a requirement, and this body doesn't necessarily have to take action on that, just for the record. Ms. Duval.
Explain to me what you're saying.
We live stream our meetings.
Yes.
On the internet.
No, about the...
I don't want to get into that.
Audio and video recordings housed on city-owned equipment. Are you saying that we don't need to keep that?
No. I think there's a difference here. Audio and recordings are required. So that's our record, right? That's where we get, well, not we, unless Maggie's got a mouse in her pocket. That's where Maggie gets her minutes and records them off of those audio and recordings. Those are required, and we will continue to do that. What's in question is the live stream, which is separate of that. The actual live video that we feed onto the internet for folks that aren't here.
Yes, Mr. Damaki, I know what live stream is.
Just checking.
So you're saying no more live streaming?
Yes.
And the justification for that is that the audio is bad, it cuts out, it buffers, etc.?
No, I mean, we have no legal requirement to live stream anything. And this body never took action to live stream in the first place. And it does cost the city money to live stream every one of our meetings. So,
give me an example of how much it costs the city.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Membership or the fee is to do that every month.
But the live stream, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Okay. The live streaming does permit citizens to see what's going on at the what do they call it when you're right there?
It's kind of, what?
They see what's going on at that time.
Right.
In real time, that's what I'm looking for. Is that the service that we provide to the citizens now, even though council did not authorize it?
That's what we do, but there are a lot of issues with it because people can't hear. If you can't hear, there's no sense in watching because most of what we do in here is you need to hear what we're talking about and what the discussion is. And if they can't do that on our current platform, then it defeats the purpose of even doing it at all. It's great that they can look at a video of us sitting here having conversations, but if you can't follow along because we don't have the proper technology in place, kind of defeats the purpose of doing a live stream.
Well, then vote for it.
Anybody else?
I got a couple rights if you're done.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carter.
Yes, thank you. I agree that if legally we don't need to live stream, then we need to just strike it. It's not beneficial to anyone when it's buffing and it's cutting out, and it's just causing us more confusion. And at this time, we have a budget that we really need to watch carefully. We all heard it. We're good right now, but we really need to watch it, and we don't need to be spending additional funds on something that we legally don't have to put money into.
Yeah,
let's focus on what's at hand right now, and keep our recording so that our minutes can be taken care of. If someone wants to know what happened in a meeting, then do a public records request and request the minutes. Or call the council person. Or come to a meeting. I mean...
Yeah, let's get 50,000 people
I'm sorry, but we don't have the funds right now to be investing into new live stream equipment.
Wow.
Maybe in a couple of years we can revisit it, but right now let's do what we legally have to do.
They're liars.
That's,
they want to separate the people from everything.
That system because of COVID. I remember that being implemented then and putting this equipment in. So we don't need it.
No, we don't need it. You don't want people to see what you're doing.
I really think if you take that away from the citizens of Lorain, you're going to really open up a can of worms. They expect it. Some people like to be part of the meeting, but they can't get here, either because of health reasons maybe, or they don't have a car, or whatever the situation is. But I think to actually take this away is really going to be detrimental to the council. Yes. You're going to get a lot of complaints because people do watch it and they like it. And I understand we had discussed this about how badly the system works, but at least it's there for them. But if you just take it away, you're going to have trouble.
Right.
Thank you. One more thing. Would On Demand still be on there, though? If we didn't live stream it, could they still go on the next day and look at it on demand?
No.
It'd just be gone.
Correct.
Okay, well, I think it could be a real problem.
Yeah. They can always request the audio.
But the audio is so bad, we all just discussed that, so. And now they're going to have to do more public records request.
Right.
Because that'll come next. Everyone will want to get, so it might really behoove you just to leave it like it is. I don't know what the cost is. I mean, if it's thousands.
Nobody knows because they don't want to tell us. There it is buffering again all of a sudden. See, they do that on purpose. This is terrible. Terrible Lorain. They want to hide from the people. Hide from the people. Hide from the people. Quit paying all these outside lawyers for lawsuits, and you'll be able to put in a sound system and an audio system and a video system. Instead, they'd rather pay all these hundreds of thousands to lawyers that don't even work for the city. And our own law department doesn't even have enough. They got 4 doctorates on the law department, but they can't try cases. They got to hire all these outside lawyers. This whole thing is screwed up. Screwed up in Lorain. Screwed up in Lorain. It won't open up.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco. I agree with them. When I was at home ill, I would live stream it, and it really helped me out a lot as a council person. And I have a lot of my seniors, like Miss Pye and different ones, will call me up and say, hey, I can't get to the meetings. Can you come over and help me get on live stream? And I do that. But it helped me a lot as a council person when I was at home ill to even though I'm not going to be here next year, but I would still like to be able to live stream and watch it. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Ms. Rogoski?
Yeah, the problem is when we talk about the conspiracy theorist, when it buffers and it goes out, oh, they must be talking about something they don't want us to know about. And so you're going to get that. So we're going to be damned if we do and damned if we don't. And with this budget going forward and the fact that there isn't a legal requirement, and then we started doing this as something that arose out of COVID, and it honestly, given the things that have happened in the past several years since COVID, it's actually started to create more problems than it is resolved. And that's my position. I wouldn't be sorry to see it go. And I have used it in the past, and I've gone back and I've rewatched meetings and that. But God knows there's enough people that attend these meetings that are live streaming it anyway, that it's all over the internet. And their live streams are much better than ours. Just saying.
Thank you. Ms. Carter?
Because I was going to say, if we decide that we're going to keep it, I think we probably need to put a disclaimer on there that we are not responsible for the quality of the mics and the live streaming.
Just spend the money and put new
We're
shit
not
in
responsible
there.
for live streaming at all.
Right.
It's just not a requirement. It's not a legal requirement.
And then, and maybe this is something we revisit at budget time to see if, because we were throwing numbers out there, what it costs. We actually really don't know what it costs.
Well, that's why the auditors should be there.
I don't think we need it. This is just my opinion. The couple times that I had surgery and I couldn't make the meeting, I was more frustrated trying to get it to where I could hear it, where I could see it, it buffered this, and finally I was so frustrated I could have cared less what
you don't give a shit anyhow.
But, and that being said,
just follow Springowski.
There's still, as Mrs. Springowski said,
right.
a lot of people showing parts of the meeting or all of the meeting, and we have newspapers. Some of us still read them. Thank you, Carissa. And
they make up what they want to.
And way back, God, Craig Fulton was mayor, and I was coming to meetings. So that's the best thing to do is, or call your council person and say, hey, here was the agenda. I saw it online. What transpired? That's just my opinion. I won't be here either.
Get out now.
But I think sometimes
you leave now. Let Gerwald take over.
More unnecessary issues than it is good for.
Thank you. Rule 33.
Buffering again? Oh, they're just not talking.
The only suggestion I have in here, submission of agenda items for regular meetings shall be submitted into agenda software by 5 p.m. on the Wednesday before a regular meeting, unless deemed necessary to change by the council clerk. Emergency items submitted after. Any issues with that language being inserted in there? Perfect. Ms. Duval.
What did we decide on 32?
We don't have to decide anything.
Oh, I thought we had to
It's
present
not in our
something.
rules. That part of it has nothing, not in our rules. So there's no action this body needs to take, technically. Nobody did anything. That, what we do with our live stream has nothing to do with our rules, and it's not a legal obligation. Like, there was no action taken for that to happen for our meetings. This body did not vote on it. There was no action taken. So if eliminating the live stream, I'll defer to law department. If that's what the majority of council wants, then that's what we'll do. But we don't have the majority of council here. So that conversation can't happen without council folks because they're not all present. But technically there's no action we need to take. It's not in our rules. It's not written anywhere. It hasn't been adopted by this body. There's nothing to eliminate because technically the live streaming doesn't exist for this body. But it is in place now, and it will continue to be in place unless the body wants to eliminate it. But everybody's not here, so this evening we're not doing anything with it. Mr. Nutt?
Oh, yeah, I just turned my light off. No, thank you. I was just going to say that, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, this means essentially just like an informative opinion-finding meeting because the rules will be voted on by the new council next year. So if that is added in permanently or just as correct, that's just opinions is what we're getting here tonight and just ideas, right?
Yeah,
Thank you.
We are looking at amendments to or elimination or revisions to our council rules, and when based on this discussion, when we have a new drafted version of it and it comes to council, then council will vote on it at that point in time. But correct, this is an ongoing discussion about our rules and any revisions or changes that you might want to see. Ms. Carter.
Just a question through the chair to our legal team. Suppose the body wants to add the live streaming because technically it's not legally in our rules. It's just something we provided as a courtesy. If it goes into the rule and the live stream is not working properly, are we setting ourselves up for legal actions?
No.
Mr. Riley.
Well, through the chair, we'd have to research the issue. So these opinions are hard to give off the top of our heads. But if you have a rule that says you're going to do something, I would suspect that you'll have to do it. So I think the conversation as a citizen that I have heard, which is insignificant, is the cost factor. It's not the cost at this point in time of the monthly subscription. It's how much it's going to cost to put in a new system before I think council should be spending money it may not have. So I would say, as a citizen, not as a law director, I would like my council to know what it's doing budget-wise before it takes action to do what would be, as we always complain about as executive officers, an unfunded mandate. Do you have the money to buy a system that can properly communicate to the public what it is that you're doing here? As a citizen, not the law director, I would expect you as counsel to understand what your budget appropriation will require you to do before you make any final decision. Thank you.
That's fair. Thank you.
Well, they should have been doing this 5 years ago.
And also, in 33, we need to change in the last sentence of the last paragraph where it says utilize the registration button, change registration to subscribe. Because there is no registration button. It's a subscribe button. Hopefully everything not seeing any light, so I guess we're good with that. Rule 37. 38. 39. On to miscellaneous rules. Rule 40. Violation of the council rule. Rule 41. Other rules, council chamber. I think there's some editing changes that are suggested here in the way this is typed out in our rules. We want to bullet point it so it clearly shows the rules underneath 41, so it's not all bunched together. Just a little bit of an alignment suggestion. And then in the paragraph or the sentence where it says no person other than members of Lorain City Council, staff, or other city officials shall enter the designated area beyond the bar of the chamber assigned to elected officials. And we want to remove after commencement of meeting and put at any time.
You hear that?
Any issue with that? Mr. Nutt.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so in this part, is this where we could address the issue of the minutes being fully or summarized?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So not to cut you off, I turned my light on so when you were done
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
going through, but I mean, I would suggest that the minutes are a summary form of that. And then also, I did have a quick question about the OAG Sunshine Law training. Now, obviously, I think we all took those classes, but I think that you were able to designate one of the clerks to take some of them for council members. Am I misremembering that? Is that a thing that did occur in the past?
The revised code allows you to designate somebody to attend on your behalf.
In my opinion, I think we should. I guess if there are a revised code says you can't designate somebody, I think as a council we should just make every council member attend and not necessarily designate somebody to take the course for you. But obviously we can't overwrite Ohio revised code. But that would just be my
You do it every meeting.
Thank you.
Glad he said that.
So just so we're clear, Mr. Nutt's suggestion is to look at a summary of our minutes as opposed to verbatim. I personally have no issue with that. Also, he is talking about the certifications and training that are required. I think there is a suggestion that under that trainings, which would be a bullet point, it would read something to the effect of, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, council members shall attend the Ohio Attorney General Sunshine Law training. That would be another bullet point under that area of that rule as well. And then I don't, the last sentence, there's a question around the Brit PERT training module, sensitivity basics, 2 sessions, and diversity, 1 session. The question is that something that we should even have in there? And Ms. Springowski, lifetime?
Yeah, I liked it. Well, I do like going to the summary minutes, just the summary rather than verbatim, as that can cause too much confusion, especially with our wonderful sound system. And with the training in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, I think we're only required for the Sunshine Law training, and I think we should have it just at that, whatever is required. And I take it anyway, but I don't have a problem with designating somebody to take it for
Where's
other
your
council members.
certificate?
I do encourage everybody to attend it or to take the training themselves personally. But if the law allows us to designate somebody, then, I'm going to defer to the law.
All right, you better
Thank
defer
you.
to the law on everything,
Just
too,
to be
there.
clear, your suggestion is to remove the last
Correct.
last sentence after General Sunshine Law training,
That is correct.
period, and the rest of that remove.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just for council. Right.
Ms. Duval.
I just want to say I agree with Ms. Springowski because we don't even know if diversity is going to be allowed in Ohio.
Well, that's why you have
That's not
council
funny.
rules.
Sad. It's true, but sad. Rule 42, conduct. Yes, sir.
I see the number 2 in there before council members. Does that mean that that's item number 2 in that paragraph, or does that mean that 2 council members must attend?
Item 2.
It says 2. And I know there's been somebody who's saying that council members are not following the rule, but when I read the rule, it said 2 council members. So if we can find 2 council members that attended the training, then I think they complied with the rule. Maybe you want to delete the 2, but the current rule says just 2.
That might be a typo, but good catch. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also have to have a certificate. How come they forget that part?
Yeah. Good catch. Rule 42. The only revision I have is in that first sentence where it says appropriateness and propriety of behavior, conduct or appearance. And the suggestion is following rules at all times and adding that to this. Conduct or following rules at all times while in the confines of the council chamber. I don't have any problem with that. Anybody else? Perfect. Last paragraph, same rule, where it says, it's just repeated, it says in addition, we want to remove in addition. It shouldn't be a problem. Ms. Duval?
Yes. Does this cover committee meetings, executive meetings, this profanity, this racial, ethnic genders? Is this in here that at any time a council person does anything like this?
Right. Yeah.
When I'm reading it, it's just in council meeting.
You can't, I don't know if you can.
Okay, and so, so once, okay, you say it's at any meeting. Okay, then go to the third paragraph, the last meeting. The member violating Rule 40 will be provided with an opportunity to address the verbal and written warning against him at the regular meeting. It says a member may be expelled for the remainder of the meeting after he had been notified of the violations against him or her via the verbal warning. If this happens in a committee meeting or in a executive meeting or work session or whatever we're doing, will that member be expelled for the remainder of the meeting?
Yeah, which they never do because Springowski runs her mouth. Buffering. Very good questions. Still buffering again.
The president of council, controlling council, but Mr. Riley?
Through the chair, this issue came up once before. I wrote a lengthy legal opinion addressing how it is that this should be dealt with, and I would agree with Mr. Wall that these 2 rules, 40 and 42, do seem to be a bit inconsistent. My recollection of the proper process when a point of order is raised, as it was in a prior circumstance, the president should then make a decision. Council has the right to review at its own motion the decision as effectively an appeal.
Buffering.
Well, the person who is charged with violating the rule has an opportunity to speak, and an issue should be decided right there.
Yeah,
That's paraphrasing from my recollection, which is years ago now, what that legal opinion says. I will pull that opinion out and circulate it amongst council, but it appears to be there appears to be a bit of inconsistency between Rule 40 and Rule 42 as to what should happen if a person violates a council rule. My recollection is that when asked, I did default to Robert's Rules of Order, and Robert's Rules of Order, in my opinion, are relatively clear. The issue was brought to the president's attention by a point of order call. He then decides whether a violation has occurred. Council then acts as basically an appellate body, reviewing the action of the president, and then council effectively makes a decision. Mm-hmm. So I will dig up that legal opinion, circulate it to you, and I would suggest that you give the law department an opportunity to reconcile what is in Rule 40 and in Rule 42 so it isn't confusing and contradictory.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to make sure I understand. We're in a meeting. Joanne makes an offensive remark to me. The president then intervenes. President council intervenes then?
Well, the mechanism in Robert's Rules is known as a point of order. Someone declares that there's been a violation of the council rule, and at that point in time, he then addresses the violation, makes a decision. This body then can act as an appellate review, call it that, a review of the president's decision, and then vote to decide whether he was right or wrong about it.
Okay. Now, you got to remember, I'm kind of slow.
I remember.
The president makes, someone calls a point of order and complains about the behavior. The president either says it's a violation or not a violation. And then the members of the committee can vote on whether or not they're going to overrule the president, or where does the written warning come in?
Excuse my grammar, there ain't no written warning. He gives a warning.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yep. And then council, if it wishes to hear the decision of the president of council, you can do that. There'll be evidence given. The accused member can make a statement. My recollection of paraphrasing my legal opinion, just like a little hearing, so to speak. And at that point in time, council will be charged with deciding whether or not he or she did or didn't violate the order, the rule rather, and a decision will be made. The penalties include, if I recall correctly, being expelled from the remainder of the meeting.
Right.
So we take out this part where it says an offending member receiving a verbal and written warning from the presiding officer detailing the infraction. So it just can be a verbal. It doesn't have to be a written.
They are a bit inconsistent, but yes, it can be verbal only.
Yep.
So we need to take that out, the written.
I will look at these two rules and I'll be sure they're consistent.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. That means Mary Springowski can't be running her mouth anymore.
Is there anything for rules 43 through 47?
Somebody can say, hey, they're over here texting during the meeting or whispering.
Ms. Captain.
Yeah, so with the use of electric devices, I had a suggestion. I think that personal devices, because at the beginning of every single meeting, when the president says to silence your personal devices, we are given a city phone and a city computer. We don't have to have our personal devices out, because depending on what you may be texting or you may be using, it can be confusing to, again, anybody who might be watching or anybody who might be here watching. What are they doing? Are they lobbying each other? Are they having a meeting outside? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you are using your city phone and your city computer, that argument is off the table. So I believe that as we are asked to silence the phones or our personal electronics, they actually need to be put away.
Right.
So that's just my thought.
Mr. Riley.
Through the chair, over the past several years, we've attempted to educate council about the use of their private electronic devices and the creation of public records. In addition to that, we have had opportunity to speak with council about the conduct of an open public meeting. The use of electronic devices to communicate with one another on matters that might otherwise affect your deliberation on the issue would not be proper. You cannot do that.
There you go.
So exactly how it is you wish to manage yourself, there's no question here, in my opinion, that the veteran members of council understand these laws. We've had no lack of opportunity to interact with council about how it is you communicate during an open public meeting, but certainly the notion that you would have a private electronic communication device and be communicating in a way that would not be otherwise disclosed to the public, as it might affect your decision on voting on a matter of legislation, would be improper. There's no question about that. That's
there you go. Thornberry, put your phone away.
Members. So whether you want to manage yourself by saying you shall not have any, private electronic device so that you can't inadvertently commit a violation of the law, that might be one way to do it. Otherwise, as adults and members of council and sophisticated people that you are, you might just, understand what your duties are and manage yourself accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Demakia. I'm probably one of those people that on occasion I've had my personal phone here, and that's because I have 10 grandchildren. I've got an 80-year-old husband who has health issues, and if I need to look at my phone if there's something going on, not necessarily anything to do with city business, but to make sure my loved ones are okay.
No.
I'm still going to bring, my time is up. But there's nothing wrong with making sure that in the event of an emergency, you may have a phone that vibrates to let you know that there is a personal emergency. As long as you're not conducting city business, things happen. People need to leave, or be aware of something. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, no, I'm gone in December too, so this doesn't affect me. And I think, all council members are adults, and the incoming council members as well can conduct themselves appropriately. My concern, though, as I do see, as Ms. Kempton did raise, is my concern is more the potential liability that it does create for the city, and even more directly, I guess, honestly, like the records requests and the issues and the time frame spent on that. Now, obviously, future council can regulate themselves however they see fit, but my concern absolutely goes towards the liability. And then the law department, the council clerks, always, working on pulling all those record requests for any issues that may have been seen, and maybe that won't be an issue going forward if there's no live stream, but we'll see. So, that's my concern. So thank you.
Best advice that law ever gave everybody is just don't use it.
Yeah.
And you use it all the time, you asshole.
Yes, I was just going to agree with Mrs. Kempton and Mr. Nutt. I understand everybody has hard times in their life sometimes, but we were able to get along without cell phones for a long time in my lifetime. But I just think that for this hour and a half, 2 hours that you're here, that you should concentrate, because it just opens up more problems where people think you're having all these private conversations. The mayor can attest to this. If you're in a courtroom, you didn't have the phone on, the judge would go nuts. So, I never worked with having my phone. Sorry, I'm boring you, Mr. Demakia, but I never worked with my cell phone when I was in a meeting or in the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Winkowski.
Yes. This is an iPad, and this is what I take my notes on. It's a personal electronic device, but I have notes and I download every agenda, every meeting I come to. I come to the Zoning Planning Commission, all of that, Demolition Board of Appeals, all of that. All of my personal notes, which I take from my own remembrance, are on this. And this is a personal electronic device, and I'm not turning it off. I have an 87-year-old father, and my husband happens to be here with me. But it's like I did get a phone call from my dad tonight, and I silenced it, and that because he'll call back again if it's an emergency. But I take care of my dad, and I'm going to go rogue on this. I am going to keep writing in my iPad, and I am going to keep my phone here in case my father needs me, because I've left this meeting before due to a family emergency or that. I did it when my mom was dying. And I will continue to do that. I am a part-time council person. I have a family outside of here. I have grandchildren, I have children, and I have my father and my husband. And this job is never going to supersede my care for them. And if somebody has a problem with that, they can do a records request. I got a message from Angel Arroyo tonight that I had read into the record. I sent a screenshot of it so that it could be part of the record because I understand the sunshine laws and what my requirements under the law are. I'm not using it as a crutch to go and curtail somebody's ability to have their personal life. This job doesn't supersede our personal life, and I think that right now we're being a little bit big brother on this sort of thing. Thank you.
Oh, you're
Thank
the
you.
big brother.
Ms. Felsi, I'm sorry. Ms. Duvall?
Yes, isn't that addressed in section B here under number 2, the use of privately owned electronic devices? It says that if you document the functions of his or her public office, you'll do this. You'll retain the electronic messages in accordance with City Council records retention schedule and forward such electronic messages to the corresponding city-owned cell phone, personal laptop, or tablet. Doesn't that solve the problem of her having her notes or whatever as part of the public record?
Yeah.
Does that solve the problem?
I'm not required to. My personal notes, I'm not required to give me a document for them. But I'm allowed to take them for myself to call this country. They've been requested in the
Turn her mic on.
No.
Thank you. Ms. Captain.
Just to follow up on it, there hasn't been any other council person in this body that understands more what a family emergency is. But I would say that I'm able to give my city number to my family for 2 hours, and that we ask lawyers and judges and anyone in the court upstairs to put their phone away. We also ask the children of this city to put their phones away so that they can concentrate and learn too. So I don't think it's a big ask to say just concentrate on the job that you've been hired to do. Thank you.
That a girl.
Seeing no other lights, I will now turn to the public.
Again, Patrick Horn. The last thing I'll go with first. Just so everyone knows the whole legality of the rules, and I'm sure Mr. Slesky or Mr. Riley could if I'm wrong, but I'm just going to pick on Mayor Bradley and City Director for a minute here. If they decide to use their personal cell phones and say, hey, we're going out for drinks afterwards, that's public record. No. No? Okay, it's not. Can they FOIA that and ask that or no? I'm not sure how that works. Can they ask that question if you use your business cell phone for that? Is that? And then also,
the mayor said he doesn't drink.
Well, it's just an example. But personal is personal and business is business. But anyway, and the other thing, with this Rule 47, as most of you all know, right now we've had some issues with individuals challenging Rule 47. We have to find a way to implement these rules because they're going to sit here, they're going to challenge the rules of the council, not just be done about it, so they're going to sit there and continue to challenge the rules of council and disrupt the meetings, and we got to talk about that, because the last time we were in here, the issue happened. I think they did a great job doing it. The Councilwoman Smigowski and President O'Donnell did it the right way, but those two individuals sat in here and challenged the council and then said, well, we're going to sue if you don't let us speak. But it says in the Rule 47 about the misdemeanors, we need to start enforcing those because otherwise they're going to continue to do what they're supposed to do and make this meeting hard for us to do. So just a thought.
Thank you.
Oh, that's not the place. Rule 47, that's the revised code. You don't have to change that. Oh, we've done that. I have no idea.
Tom Smigowski, Lorain, Ohio.
I'd just like to ask council to consider in the rules to have public comment placed after the resolutions are discussed, as it would be more relevant to a public comment, because a lot of times we don't know how it's going, but I would have a comment after the discussions of council took place or the administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I will go back to council and Ms. Felsi.
Yeah, my question is on 47, or 47. Why don't we ever get to the point where people are charged that disrupt these meetings? I mean, we don't have to arrest them in chambers, but we could charge them, right? Correct. So I guess that would be for law. Why don't we go that final step to really put some teeth into that rule that you can't just come in and just disrupt meetings?
Mr. Riley.
The process by which prosecution is commenced is not the law department deciding to charge someone, nor is it city council deciding to charge someone. There is a established process. That process requires a finding of probable cause. The finding of probable cause is initially made by the law enforcement agency that conducts the investigation, thereafter reviewed by a judge to determine its sufficiency. So it's not a matter of why don't we charge someone, it's a matter of whether the process has been properly invoked, and otherwise then takes itself through the procedures required by law to determine that someone should be charged. We just don't charge someone.
Well, I'm not saying just charge someone.
Well, that's what you said.
It's on a videotape, the actions that were taken, the begging to leave, they won't leave.
Well, that then becomes a subject of an investigation, and the investigative authority.
Done.
Well, I'm not so sure why you would think it is or isn't done.
Because no one's ever been charged for disrupting.
Well, that's not true. That's not the case. There have been 2 people charged, and there have been 2 convictions, Mary.
This year?
The question is whether, no, historically, to date, whether or not there's been an investigation of the more recent incidents is something for the investigative agency to know and for you not to know, because those are matters that are confidential.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Law.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, that's okay. Ms. Frioski?
I agree with Mrs. Spellacy in that we need to more clearly define the process. We've been giving them 3 warnings, 2 or 3 warnings, and I think that there should just be the one warning, and definitely not going all the way up to 3 warnings. That just seems to bait them. And that if a council member requests an immediate recess, then we can address it further. But we've got to stop with people disrupting these meetings so that we can get to the agenda at hand, because it basically it's disruption of government services in essence, because we're trying to run a meeting that governs the city. Maybe it's just that the process hasn't always been followed, but we need to nip it in the bud. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Compton?
I agree with Ms. Frankowski 100% on this. I don't think that 3 warnings and you're out is, I absolutely, I think that we need to start looking at this. We represent 63,000 people, and one person coming in here week after week or meeting after meeting to come in specifically to disturb a meeting should not be tolerated. Thank you.
Thank you. So the suggestion is that we issue, just paraphrasing here, we issue 1 warning, and the next is at the pleasure of the body, as opposed to 3 warnings. And again, I'm just trying to grasp what the suggestions are on this floor. And as always, I will defer to law, and if we're not prepared to have this conversation, I would suggest that law, just like they're going to do with some of the rules, look into it and make a recommendation to our body on what would make the most legal sense. Ms. Frangowski?
I would agree and put it on them. You're welcome, Pat. Oh, and for the record, I just took 2 extra strength Excedrin because I'm sure you'll get a public records request on that. But I have a bit of a headache, and I took it with diet ginger ale.
No, I can't. No, I just can't.
To the chair of the council, the protocol that was established was done so, again, as I said earlier, based upon the experiences that the Cleveland Law Department had during the height of the Israeli-Palestinian war in Gaza. The reason why the protocol is established the way it is so that you understand this better. Not that you don't, but I haven't explained it all to you because I've really never been asked. But it's a matter of being successful ultimately in a courtroom. You might understand that when someone is charged with a crime, the conviction is based upon a conclusion by a jury or judge that they are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. In constructing the protocol that I recommended to you, the foresight was that at some point in time in the future, there may be a charge, and we would like to be able to prove that person guilty. And in order to reach the high bar of guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, the protocol stands as almost irrefutable proof that someone conducted themselves in a way that was disruptive. And so there was a lot of thought put behind the second warning requirement, because at that point it becomes easier ultimately in a courtroom when someone is being charged with a crime and may lose their liberty or their money to prove them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt because they have been consecutively disruptful on more than one occasion in a meeting. And so the reason why this protocol is built the way it is to look ultimately to a courtroom where the prosecutors have to prove someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And the more disruptive, quote unquote, a person is, the more likely the finding of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt will occur. Now, that's my opinion about what it is that we do for a living as lawyers and prosecutors, and why the protocol was built the way it was, and why it's built the way it is in Cleveland, for the very same reason. Because you ultimately want to meet that high bar of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It would be arguably less effective and arguably more defensible if it's one warning and whatever. But so the fact that there are 2 warnings, not 3, 2, was designed to make it easier to prove ultimately in a courtroom if a person is charged that they in fact were disrupting the public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Duval.
Yes. This protocol will work if city council will step up. If the president is not addressing issues, we can always do a point of order and force him to address this. But we can't go into recess until he has said twice to them to sit down and shut up. And then there was some confusion on last time because we hesitated to move to recess. We've got to work together as a team to solve this problem. And that means that city council has to be alert and willing to step out there and say, Mr. President, point of order, or whatever. The protocol is very plain, but you got to do it.
Thank you. Okay, great discussion, great suggestions and recommendations. I will say this, the only other thing that, to Ms. Duval's point also, and I know that the administration and law department are working on it, is the issue of authority of the chamber. So just keep in mind that they are working on that because it does create a gray area for accountability and enforcing our rules in this particular part of this facility. So they are working on that, and that will come up later. But I will need a motion once amended and completed of this legislation. I will need a motion to send it back to council for consideration.
Hang on.
Mr. Ball.
So moved.
Oh, Mr. Ball, you cannot. Ms. Kempton.
I make that motion.
Thank you. I need a second. Ms. Henley.
Support.
All those in favor? Any objections? Good. You're not in the committee, it don't matter. Thank you all for being here this evening and your patience and good conversation. Thank you.
And that's it for the council meeting tonight. So that now all of a sudden they want to follow rules. They want to stifle us. She's going rogue. She says she's not going to follow the rules and she's going to have her phone there because her 87-year-old dad. Well, she has brothers. They should be able to help her. She has 2 sisters. One sister, I believe, lives with her dad. And you know what? She's got to be the only one to help her dad. Too bad. She's got other family members. So she just wants to do that because she doesn't want to follow the rules. She pretends like she does. And the rest of these people, they just want to talk shit. If they would just answer our public records, there wouldn't be any of these problems that they have now. But they're the ones that don't want to follow the rule. So, Garen Petty, tonight, I'm out. Hi, Linda Rivera. I'm out.